Hello and welcome to Cozy Creeps, where we bundle up and pretend to be sitting by a cozy fire and listening to spooky tales. I'm Reagan,
And I'm River.
and we will be your host for this chilling story. So, guys, it's finally happened. We're back for part two of Rodney Alcala, and it's another long one. It's gonna be another long one. It's gonna be a doozy, but we are gonna finish it up today. I literally just finished writing these notes maybe like 30 minutes ago, so we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna get it done. So with that, we're gonna grab our favorite blankets and bundle up. We're gonna grab our comfort drinks, which both of us have extra comfort in these comfort drinks, if you know what we mean. And let's get creepy.
Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-dum. Wah.
I like that. Good one.
Thanks.
All right. So jumping right back in, this guy doesn't have a cool down period at all. We're just gonna start there. This man does not know how to chill. He doesn't know how to relax. He keeps going, much to everyone's dismay. So let's jump right back into it, I guess. On June 24th, 1978, in Segunda, California. Oh my God. In Segunda, California. Words are hard for me today. I'm real sorry in advance, everyone. Like, I've been stumbling over my words all day long, which is a problem because I worked earlier.
Wah.
Oopsies. Anyway, Charlotte Lee Lamb, a 32-year-old legal secretary. Oh gosh, it's starting strong. I'm so sorry, guys. Let's start that sentence over. June 24th, 1978, in Segunda, California, Charlotte Lee Lamb, a 32-year-old legal secretary, would be found dead. Now, Charlotte had similar dreams to Jill Barcombe, hoping to break into the entertainment center. She was described as strikingly beautiful and someone who just lit up a room. Don't look at me like that. I know I stumbled over my words again.
No, I'm looking at you because I'm being respectful and paying attention to you, like I've done the last few episodes.
Okay, sure, Jan. Anyway, so on June, I'm gonna just go back to it. On June 23rd, Charlotte had gone dancing at a nightclub in Santa Monica, which is where it's believed she ran into Alcala. The next day, her naked body was discovered in the laundry room of the apartment complex where she was temporarily staying. Like others, Charlotte had been sexually assaulted, beaten, and strangled with a shoelace. Yeah,
Oof.
this man used anything he had. Her hands had also been tied behind her back. Now, detectives did find foreign DNA at the crime scene, and they even noted that there were bite marks on Charlotte's chest, which would become something he did.
Ew.
Yeah, he bit them. Creepy. He had actually bit Jill Barcombe. I didn't initially see that noted or hear it whenever I was taking the notes, but they did also find bite marks on her, which was his victim, I believe, right before her. So,
That's a weird call on
yeah,
her.
eh, it's it's an oddly common one too. I don't know why. I don't know why they want to bite. They're weird.
Yeah, Jackson.
Our
Jackson's one
cat,
of our cats.
our cat is trying to bite him currently. Anyway, but the bite marks were the same that had been found on Joe Barcombe, signaling that this was probably the same killer. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit because decades later, earrings would actually be found in Akala's storage locker that had Charlotte's DNA on them, confirming he was her killer. But we will get into all of the DNA evidence that links him to all these murders at the very end. We will get into all of that and we'll get into the storage locker and everything. So hold tight, we're going to get there.
Holding.
But unfortunately, at the time, with no further leads, her case did go cold as well. She was another kind and outgoing woman with ambitious dreams, and she was taken away from her friends and family just way too soon. And it's just, oh, this man just doesn't know how to stop. And oh, he's icky.
That's certainly one word for it.
I've we've been around our toddler all day. I might use toddler words. Sorry.
Yeah, yucky.
Yucky.
Rodney was yaya.
Yeah, Rodney was a yaya. Anyway, at this time, what's also just so crazy is he was still working at the LA Times. So he was around the news circulating about himself. like in the midst of it being written and stuff. And at work, he was just kind of seen as like an oddball photographer who would show off some of his photography work that he did on the side. Now, what did this work he did off the clock include, you may ask? What do you think? What do you think it included?
I mean, his one of his alias, like he was a photographer, right?
Yeah, so he actually was a photographer. That was something he did, but his off the clock work would include pictures of women and teenage boys in suggestive poses or naked. And he would show these to his coworkers, and no one said anything.
The parents of these kids weren't like a little sus about it.
I'm guessing they didn't know. Unfortunately, we do get into this a little later as well. A lot of these photos were also found in the storage locker, but unfortunately, a lot of the people in these photos are unidentified. Like, we don't know who they are. So I think, unfortunately, it may be a scenario where these kids may have been runaways or in troubled homes. We don't know the full story, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm more concerned about the fact he was showing them to his coworkers and no one said anything. They were just like, yeah, Alcala's a little weird. That's it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if I'm dealing with a weird person, I just try to tolerate it
Okay,
for
but
as long as I can.
he's showing his coworkers nude photos of teenage boys and women.
Yeah.
That's see something, say something, guys. See
What was
something,
it, the
say
80s?
something. This was still the late 70s, so I mean,
Not
even
that that
still then, that is
excuses it.
gross. Anyway, back to it. Now, Alcala would, like you said, he would troll the streets and the beaches under the guise of a photographer looking to build his portfolio, which is why it's believed he may have had a lot more victims than we actually know of. Maybe not even just murder victims, but assault victims. But there's just so many more that we genuinely just may not know of because he was using this ruse and was getting away with it for so long. Now, at this point, he has killed 5 women, and unfortunately, he's not done. But in the midst of this man decided, let's go on a TV show. And this is where his name comes in.
And
So,
finally, been waiting to get to this part.
it's so creepy. If you've watched clips of this man on this show, oh, it's like without the previous knowledge, it would seem like he's just a normal, like, charming dude. But with the knowledge of what he did and what he's done, it makes it so much creepier. Ugh, it's just, ugh.
I've seen no clips of this or anything, but I just imagine
I'll show you later.
he's like round SpongeBob, just hey, how you doing?
No, he's actually not.
No, he's actually got some riz.
Oh, you'll find out.
That's what the kids say these days.
You'll find out for sure. Anyway, so in 1978, a month after murdering Charlotte Lamb, literally like a month later, this man goes and auditions and becomes a contestant on a show called The Dating Game, a nationally televised program. Hence where his nickname comes from, the Dating Game Killer. That gets brought up later after he's arrested, and that's what newspapers start calling him. So,
I'm gonna pick something like less flattering for him.
I wish they did that with a lot of them, honestly, but they don't, unfortunately.
I guess you need a headline.
Yeah, and it was just so baffling too to find out that this man was a contestant on a dating game back in the 70s. So I'm sure that just brought up a whole lot with the news. They were like, oh, this is interesting. Let's go.
Dude just knowingly went on a national show just to like not
And
not brag, but like obviously because they didn't know at the time.
and
But
let's keep in mind, this man was a wanted and convicted felon at some points. Like he had wanted posters of him posted throughout the US, and he still went on this national dating show.
he just wanted to prove to himself, I guess.
We'll get into
I guess
all
so.
that,
Actually,
actually.
I'm
We're
getting ahead of myself.
we're gonna get into all that. So yeah, like I said, lucky contestant number one was a convicted felon who had been a fugitive with wanted posters with his face on them, as well as, I mean, unknown at the time, a serial killer.
The bar is so much lower than I could ever imagine.
Yeah, but sure, let's put him on a dating show, right? So you might be wondering, how did he end up on this dating show with his convictions in the past of being a sexual predator? Well, you guessed it, it's the 1970s. Background checks weren't a thing. There was no national databases that producers could check, so he just slipped through undetected. And I think one of the casting producers I think she was a woman, and she actually was like, he was charming, but her husband also worked for the studio and had made comments like, no, he was a little creepy. So it was just a very, very different face he put on.
Is that the husband?
Yeah, he worked at the studio as well.
It's funny that the husband was the one that, got the ick.
He got the ick first. Everyone gets it eventually, but he got it first. But yeah, but what did these producers see really? A relatively attractive and charming man who had a little bit of mystery about him. There were just some parts of his life he didn't fully disclose, and that was fascinating at the time and made for good TV. So they brought him on. Now, this is just kind of gross to me, especially again knowing what he's done. But whenever the show host, Jim Lang, asked him to say hi to the Bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw, his response was, "We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl."
That sounds pretty innocent on its own.
On its own, but knowing what he did, ugh,
Gonna have a great time together, Cheryl.
exactly. Yeah, it's just, ugh. Hate that, hate that. So yeah, at the time, maybe not weird, but knowing what we know, yikes.
It's crazy. Some people would probably still like that these days.
I'm sure they would. I'm sure there's a book about it
I don't, I
somewhere.
don't, no, I don't think I know.
Ah, yeah,
There-
actually.
There's
Eh,
people got that
people got that weird vibe. You know what?
weird like.
Oh, we
They like
won't.
the ick.
We won't go into that too much.
No, it's not
That's
that
not
kind of
what we're
show.
here for. Now, obviously, because we know Akala didn't have issues luring women and victims to him, he wasn't on here to help with dating or finding true love. Like, really, it's kind of speculated that it was either just to fuel his ego and his narcissism and be like, haha, I can go on a national TV show and still not be fully recognized and get away with my crimes, haha. Or possibly a way for him to find another victim, or both. With him just being on the show just feels so gross, knowing
Jackson.
what we know.
Here's Jackson, y'all.
Here's our boy. For those watching on YouTube, here's our boy. Anyway, back to it. So on September 13th, 1978, the episode aired with three bachelors on one side of a partition and Bachelorette Cheryl on the other side. So Cheryl began asking some cheeky and suggestive questions to the bachelors. This was kind of the vibe in the late 70s, was, making it a little raunchy, a little scandalous. It made for better TV overall. So that's what they had her do. Now, Akala, who's freakishly good at compartmentalizing the demon in him, was charming and gave quick and witty responses to the questions she asked. At one point, Cheryl asked him, "What time is your best time?" And he responded with, "Nighttime." Again, knowing what we know about him and like when he commits his crimes, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Ugh. Now, Bachelor number two, Jed Mills, would actually come back and later recall that while on camera, Akala seemed normal enough, seemed like a normal dude, but off camera, he said he was, quote, really creepy. That is what this man said directly.
That's number two.
That's Bachelor number two.
That's two guys got the ick before it seems the ladies.
Yes, pretty much. Now, Mills also recalled that while in the green room getting ready, Akala told him, "I always get my girl." Quote.
Yuck.
Yeah, just icky all around. He just gives the ick. That's what I'm saying is like he's so good at compartmentalizing that for the people he needs to, he comes across as very charming, very intelligent, a very fun person to be around. But his real side really begins to show whenever he doesn't have that mask on, which he's usually, it seems, putting it on in front of women, which would make sense. Those are his victims that he's trying to lure. So anyway, the show goes on and Cheryl picks her winner. Any guesses?
Jed.
No.
Gasp.
Bachelor number one, aka Rodney freaking Alcala, wins.
Is he still going by Berger?
No, he's back in California, so he is going by Rodney Alcala. And he goes by Rodney Alcala on the show. Berger was his alias when he was in New York. I don't think he uses it at any other time.
Still a dumb alias.
Still a dumb alias. But yeah, so Rodney Alcala freaking wins. She picks him. Oh girl, oh girl. So with this win, the couple would have an all expenses paid date with tennis lessons and a trip to Space Mountain Amusement Park paid for by the show.
Disney?
Sounds like a great time, right? I don't
Right,
know
that's
if it was.
Disneyland? Space Mountain, that sounds like Disney.
I just read that it was Space Mountain Amusement Park. I didn't read if it was specifically Disney. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah,
Not sponsored.
so not sponsored. I wish. But yeah, so that was going to be paid for by the show. So host Jim Lang signs off, and the audience watching at home thinks everything looks like a cute little happy ending where he gets the girl, and Miss Cheryl, there, our bachelorette, gets Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome, who described himself as a photographer and skydiver. A real dream come true. He's tall, he's dark featured, he's mysterious, he's cool, he skydives, like, he's
Ooh,
adventurous. You
skydives.
know? Exactly. So, like, to the audience at home, this seems like, wow, that's really cool for her. Like, good for her. You get it, girl. Now, after the camera stopped, Akala and Bradshaw met briefly, and thank goodness that her instincts kicked in and told her to stay away from him. She ended up calling the show's contestant coordinator, Ellen Metzger, who was the one I was telling you about earlier, who initially was like, oh, he's charming. We should let him on. That she calls this woman the next day and says she can't go out with Akala. There was just something about him when they met one on one that made her super uncomfortable and asked her not to give him her information so they could go on this date. So they never went on the date, and this gut instinct probably saved her life. Thank goodness.
Trust your gut.
Yeah, trust your gut. Trust your gut. And then also, just for an added little cherry on top, this denial, what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for?
Is it not denial?
No,
Rejection?
rejection. That's the word. Thank you.
Rejection.
Well, this rejection probably messed with his ego a little, which good. He needs it. He needs to be brought down a few levels. A lot of levels, actually.
6 feet under.
For real. But yeah, that's how he got the name The Dating Game Killer, showing he could hide in plain sight, literally on national TV. Not only because of his ability to masquerade as someone he's not and his high IQ, because again, he had an IQ of 135. Like, technically, he was a very intelligent man. Still stupid. He's still a dum dum, but very intelligent, unfortunately. Um, but just also the lack of systemic protections to protect people from him, just not being there, really got him to where he was and got him to be on a popular dating show.
Do you think he would have like gotten away with it had he not gone on this show? Are we gonna
Oh,
touch
with
on
his
that?
murders? Oh, no, no, no. That's something else entirely, how he gets caught. That's something else entirely. This has nothing to do with how he gets caught. This is
Oh.
actually a couple of years before he gets caught.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So,
Oh, so he
moving
was given the name. I mean, obviously
He was
retroactively.
he was given the name retroactively after he was finally arrested. That's when the media clung on to that name
Hmm.
as kind of like a hook to get people to read their news stories.
If he didn't go on that show, what do you think they would have called him? John Berger. So
No,
the Burge.
no, they probably would have called him something with Strangler in it, like they did the Hillside Stranglers. Who knows? I don't know, but he's the dating game killer because he went on that show in the midst of his killing spree.
Berger the Biter.
You are really just stuck on Berger. I can't with you. The biting strangler. Who knows? Okay, we're not going to keep speculating this because honestly, giving them nicknames is just dumb anyway. Like, all it does is sensationalize them. But if you're doing research and if you're wanting to look up more about this case, looking up the dating game killer is a surefire way to figure it out, unfortunately. Now, we're moving on because again, this man just doesn't know how to chill. So after the show and everything, he keeps going about his sick ways. On February 14th, Valentine's Day of all days, disrespectful. 1979, Monique Hoyt, a 15-year-old, was hitchhiking in Riverside County when Alcala picked her up. She was just a vulnerable teen, either looking for an adventure or a ride at the time when people just didn't know the dangers of hitchhiking. Like, hitchhiking was a big thing in the 60s and 70s. It wasn't until really, like, I think the 80s or 90s that people were like, oh, wait, that's how a lot of serial killers seem to get their victims. We should stop.
As a kid, I was like, I want to hitchhike. It seems like really cool. It seems like experience.
No. As someone who has low-key hitchhiked before, no, it sucks. Not purposefully. My family's car broke down on the side of the road. We needed to hitchhike to a gas station. And someone I went to school with happened to see us, so they stopped.
So you just got lucky.
Yeah, we just got lucky pretty much. Anyway, back to the story. So yeah, she was just a young teen who, at the time, no one really knew the dangers of hitchhiking. So he picked her up, and immediately took her to his home where he sexually assaulted her. Then, completely out of the norm for him, he took her on a road trip to the mountains in Joshua Tree National Park.
Romantic.
Sure, that's the word for it. Ugh. Once in the desert, he took suggestive pictures of Monique in only her underwear before assaulting her again. He also tied her up and made it so she couldn't make any sound. I didn't get any specification, and honestly, I didn't want to look too much more into it because I didn't want to find specifications about anything else. But he did make it to where she couldn't make any sound. He continued to sexually assault her, and then he took a rock and tried to kill her with it.
Try.
But she survived.
Gasp.
This girl is so strong and resilient that she found a chance to escape while Alcala was stopped at a gas station. He put her back in his car and was driving her back to presumably leave her body somewhere. But he stopped at a gas station restroom on the drive back to LA, and this girl ran. Despite her injuries, despite being beaten with a rock, she ran. And she went straight to the police and detailed her attack to them. And thankfully, Alcala was arrested. But, and I know this will be just a big shock to everyone, the justice system failed. Again. Because Alcala's mother was able to pay his bail and allow him back on the streets.
Even after the felonies or however many, he still was allowed to post bail.
Apparently.
This is what, the 80s now at this point?
Nope, still the 70s.
Still the 70s?
Still the late 70s.
Oof.
Yeah.
Busy.
Also, let me just say, as a mother, I love my child unconditionally, but if my child was found out to be a twice convicted violent offender, nah, fam, stay in jail. You're gonna stay in jail. Learn your lesson, kid. Like, For the record, we're not gonna be those parents who are like, my child would never in the news when it's clear they did. I doubt she will get there, but like, on the off chance.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Reminds me of some. I mean, I won't really go into it, but I think it was some younger teenager in like Florida, I think. Incident and mother, like, ugh, it was gross.
Yep.
There's footage on it for sure, but like, they had their connections with their small town judge or something like that, and of course, yeah. But at least these days we have the internet and social media is too prevalent. Yeah, I mean, let's say, yes, dox them. They should be, but like, we know who these people are and can clown on them consistently and know what kind of people they are.
And bring it up regularly. But yeah, so, fun fact, his mom posting bail and him being able to roam the streets freely would have consequences. Shocker, I know. On June 13th, 1979, Jill Parento, a 21-year-old college student and computer key punch operator, would become Alcala's last adult victim. And yes, I do make that distinction on purpose. Sorry. In advance. Jill was a friendly and outgoing young woman with a tight-knit group of friends. They did a lot of fun activities together. And one of these activities was they were going to be attending a baseball game on the 13th. And she was just super excited to go with her friends and have a fun night out. But the next day, Jill didn't come into work, and her colleagues called the police, worried about her. Police arrived at her apartment and found signs of a break-in with the window screen cut and a window ajar. Once inside, officers would find Jill dead on her bathroom floor, naked and posed with pillows propped beneath her shoulders. She had been killed similarly to how the other victims had been, so I'm not going to go into detail again, but officers found something a little different at this scene. Alcala had actually left drops of his blood, probably having cut himself on the window as he entered the apartment. Now, while DNA profiling didn't exist yet, officers thankfully preserved that sample, which would eventually link Alcala to the murder once DNA profiling became a thing.
Does DNA not, like, expire? Or, like, go bad?
If it is preserved properly, it can decay over time, but as far as I'm aware, you can keep it stored properly to have it for later use, but it still will decay. So you, depending on how old it is, you do have to be extremely careful with it because you may only have one shot to test it. Or there may not be enough to do more than one test.
Oof.
Yeah, so you do have to be very careful with that.
Forensics, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, one of Jill's friends would also state that they had actually met Alcala several times at nightclubs in the weeks leading up to the murder. meaning she knew him and had made a connection with him prior to the murder. Like, he made friends with this girl probably and then murdered her. Now we're going to get into the last victim. The final victim, Robin Christine Samso, was a 12-year-old girl. On June 20th, 1979, only a week after the discovery of Jill's body, Robin disappeared in Huntington Beach, California. She was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl who loved ballet and going to the beach with her friends. She had actually gone to the beach with a friend that day and later would be seen biking hurriedly towards her ballet class because she was worried she was going to be late, but she never made it to class. Her friends told police that a strange man with a camera had approached them, asking if he could take their pictures and being very pushy until a nearby adult asked him what he was doing and caused him to leave. Which, thank you to that adult for seeing that and being like, no, get away from these children. Now, an artist worked with the witnesses to create a sketch of the strange man, and it was circulated throughout Southern California. This would come in handy because a parole officer in LA saw the sketch and immediately felt a sense of recognition because it looked just like his parolee, Rodney Alcala. What a shock! What a shock, I know. The parole officer contacted the police and let them know that the suspect might be Rodney. What's even more horrifying is he's still awaiting for his trial for his attack on Monique. But he was out on bail because his mom bailed him out. So these last two murders happened because his mom bailed him out instead of leaving him in jail until his trial. Don't be that parent. I'm just saying, don't be that parent. Anyway.
Or, have a functioning justice system.
I don't think we're going to get there anytime soon, so don't be that parent.
I mean, it functions, just not
well.
Just not in the way that is most beneficial to people.
Amen to that. But this tip from this parole officer was the crucial tip that they needed. Now, unfortunately, on July 2nd, 1979, Robin's remains were found by park rangers off a remote mountain road in the foothills of the San Gabriel's Mountains. It had been 12 days since she disappeared, so her remains had been severely damaged by the elements and animals, but dental records did confirm that it was Robin Samso. They would be able to also tell that she had been treated similarly to the other victims, with the only difference being that she was probably stabbed with a knife instead of strangled this time. Weird change-up, but it does happen occasionally. Not usually, but it does happen. Now, Robin's case lit a fire in the Southern California police and also created a ton of public outcry. This was a 12-year-old girl just taken off the streets in broad daylight and then murdered. So the media also was broadcasting Robin's photo as well as the composite sketch all over the news. And thank goodness they were doing this because several people who knew Alcala called in as well, saying that the sketch looked just like him. So not only do we have his parole officer, we have multiple people who know this man being like, that's Rodney.
That's John.
That's Rodney.
That's Berger.
My God, you gotta drop the Berger thing. Jeez, babe. That's forever going on.
It's a bit, babe.
It's a bit now?
Yes, this is part 2. Gotta keep it going.
Okay, sure. Sure, babe.
Get some going.
Yeah, so with all these tips pointing at Rodney, the police started digging into his past, discovering that he was a convicted sex offender with a history of violence. Couldn't have done that any sooner.
Now it's an issue.
Now it's an issue.
After how many? Like 6 people? Too many.
Too many. 7 people total, I believe. 5 murdered. 2 assaulted and almost murdered. Now, this was enough for them to get a search warrant of Alcala's home, and on July 24th, 1979, police arrested and charged him with the kidnapping and murder of Robin Samso. Yay! Got him! Alcala, obviously, denied everything, claiming he had been nowhere near Huntington Beach that day. Which, of course he did. Now, it's at this point that the media did start referring to him as the dating game killer, after making the connection of him having been on the show literally the year before. You dum-dum.
This dude was like, hey, remember that one show?
Hey, wasn't he on that show?
Like the stars that had to align for this particular headline to happen.
I know. It's ridiculous. But yeah, you dum-dum. Yeah, when a composite sketch went out, I bet a ton of people did recognize you.
So his other I already forgot his other
His like FBI wanted posters.
no his other charges were only assaults, right?
The only ones that he had been brought up and he'd been convicted for, yes, were just sexual assaults.
Okay, well, so
Not just for the record, but like he had no charges of murder against him is what I mean. Not just as like, oh, it was just. No, no, no. It's still terrible. I just want to preface that because I felt bad saying it just now.
Yeah, I was like, if it starts with assault, then they're gonna figure out, okay, I got caught. I gotta figure out not to get caught next time. So
Murder.
it's murder.
Yeah, pretty much how it usually goes.
So, oh yeah, like she said, always take it seriously.
Yeah, always take it seriously. Now, here's the thing. The police needed more physical evidence, and it would be found in a storage locker over 1,200 miles away. That's right, guys, we're getting into the storage locker finally. Let's go.
Storage locker?
A storage locker. In Seattle, Washington, it was discovered that there was a storage unit rented under Alcala's name. Police received a warrant to search that locker, and inside, they found multiple trophies that would link Alcala to several crimes.
For such a high IQ, he's made some stupid ass moves.
Here's the thing, it's kind of a common thing with serial killers to keep what they call a trophy, like just something to remind them of the crime so they can look at it and almost relive the crime. It's disgusting, but it's a common thing for some reason.
Let's just take a picture.
He did. Oh, he did.
Oh,
there were hundreds of photos found of women and young boys, many of them naked and in suggestive poses. Wow, look at that, babe. He took photos.
Nothing this clear cut since the Epstein files.
We're not talking about that.
Nope, that's not something we're gonna touch.
If we disappear, blame him. Anyway, he started it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Anyway, these photos made a clear portfolio of people who had either encountered Alcala or were even potential victims of him. They also found personal items, mostly jewelry, from multiple women that Alcala had taken as keepsakes of his crimes. Among these were a pair of gold ball earrings that stuck out to police, as Robin's mom had described that she was wearing gold ball earrings when she disappeared. They belonged to her. They were her earrings.
Really?
Shocker, I know. DNA was also found on many pieces of the jewelry, including blood that had been found on an earring and later confirmed to be from his victim, Charlotte Lamb. This locker was it was a huge break, and it gave investigators leads on a ton of cold cases. Like, because keep in mind, again, all of his murder victims, they're all cold cases. They don't know who did it. So this locker gave them leads to all of the women he'd murdered in California thus far. Now, we're going to fast forward really quick to March of 2010 because I do want to touch on this topic. The investigators released 120 of the photos found in Alcala's locker, hoping that some of the people could be identified. And horrifically, families did recognize loved ones who had disappeared, and many women also saw themselves in these photos and came forward telling the stories of the weird and uncomfortable encounters they had had with Alcala where he had taken their photos.
I don't want to, downplay any of that, but, they didn't think to mention it before?
They may not have been assaulted. So to them, it was just like, he's just a weird photographer. Now, the ones who were assaulted also, unfortunately, I can see why they didn't come forward as well. I mean, keep in mind how it is today. Imagine how it was in the 70s. Exactly. So, these photos tie Alcala to a lot of unsolved cases in New York, LA, Seattle, and many other places, and suggest that he may have had many more victims than originally thought. Unfortunately, a lot of those who were photographed still remain unidentified today, and police are still looking for answers on those people who are in the photos. So if you have any information, I believe you can actually look up the photos of the unidentified people of those photos. So if you want to look them up, if you or a family member recognize them, call police. Just call the police. And now we're going to go back to 1980. The locker found in Seattle gave the prosecution physical evidence to strengthen their case against Alcala and showed that he liked to collect keepsakes to relieve his crimes, a common trait of serial killers, like I'd said earlier. Now, this locker disturbingly served as Alcala's little treasure chest, However, it worked in favor of the investigators, who were able to link him to the murders of several of his victims like Jill Barcombe, Georgia Wickstead, Charlotte Lamb, and Jill Parenteau, which these cases may have taken a lot longer to solve, or they may have remained unsolved. If the police hadn't found this locker, their murders may not have ever been solved. Which, whew, that's crazy to think. Now, this locker and all of the evidence in it allowed prosecutors to charge Alcala with these crimes later once the DNA had been matched. Once they had DNA technology and could match it to these victims and to Alcala, they were able to charge him with these murders, which we will get into that more in detail.
Do you know when, like, DNA testing became a thing?
So it started becoming a thing in the early 90s, but even then it wasn't very widely used at the time. It didn't become more widely used until like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Is there like a correlation between serial killers and DNA identification technology?
There might be, but also there's more of a correlation in like the 60s and 70s to there being so many serial killers, because at the time, keep in mind, that was back at the time where stranger danger wasn't a thing. People were leaving their doors and windows unlocked because they were like, I live in a safe neighborhood, or I live in a safe town. It's perfectly fine. Like, a lot of these killers got in through open windows and open doors. So it was just a different time. And with all of this happening, it did eventually lead to the precautions we grew up with in the 90s of, stranger danger, lock your doors, don't answer the door to strangers, don't go off with a stranger in a white van, like we had all of that because of the insane amount of serial killers in the 70s. Because there were so many.
Don't take the candy unless it's full-sized.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, babe, no.
I've always locked my doors. I felt like that was just common sense.
Yeah, because we were taught it was common sense, but that wasn't a thing in the 60s and 70s.
That's even like outside of what I was
like
raised on. It's like put on your seatbelt. Like,
yeah, like if you lived in a dangerous area, then yeah, people were still locking their doors and everything. Like if you lived in an area with a high crime rate, obviously you were locking your doors and your windows, but like there are so many stories where they talk about like, oh, this was a peaceful, quiet community. People didn't lock their doors and windows. Like there are so many stories like that. So that's kind of why that was a bit more prevalent back then.
You know what? As someone who knows someone whose family did used to leave their doors unlocked, multiple times I would just walk in and be like, what's up, fam? Not so much anymore. I gotta knock now.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
You know who you are if you're listening to this.
Exactly.
You better be listening to this.
I feel like I know who it is too.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, back to it, because we gotta find tangents and fun stuff somewhere in the story. And it's not gonna be from the actual story itself, so it's gonna be from making fun of the killer.
And me.
And you. Anyway, thankfully, this would be what ended his killing spree and kept him in prison forever. Finally. Anyway, Alcala was convicted and sentenced to death in June 1980 for Robin's murder, based mostly off of witness testimony, the sketch identification, and the found earrings. By the early 2000s, however, prosecutors were having to go to trial about Alcala for a third time. You heard that right, third time, due to his conviction being overturned twice. The first time it was overturned was in 1984 after it was discovered that the jury had been, quote-unquote, improperly informed of his previous sex crimes and suggested that the jury had been predisposed to think he was guilty. Like, it wasn't relevant to the story. Sure.
It's like, I know they gotta do their jobs, but like, sometimes you should just wipe your hands with it and get like, some dangerous dude off the street.
I know.
They have freaking Phoenix Wright as their lawyer. Gosh.
Anyway, the retrial was essentially the same as the first one, minus letting the jury know that he had already been convicted of sex crimes against children twice before. The jury yet again convicted and sentenced him to death in 1986. Shocker, I know. Then, in 1992, the California Supreme Court upheld this conviction. But this little shit was persistent, unfortunately. He filed a federal habeas corpus petition, which is essentially another type of appeal, but in the federal court systems.
I've never heard of that.
I didn't find too much detail in it. At this point, I was just tired and wanting to get through the notes. So I didn't look too much into it. Sorry, guys. But from what I understand, it's just a type of appeal, but in the federal court systems. So again, His conviction was overturned in 2001, leading to a third trial. And in 2003, the Ninth Circuit Court agreed with this decision, vacating his conviction, meaning, again, they're going to trial for a third time.
Like, there's a reason. Like, just...
And keep in mind, this is only about Robin, the 12-year-old girl's murder. This isn't about the other ones. They haven't linked him to those yet.
Gasp.
We'll get there. So there were a lot of complicated reasons why this was allowed, but one of them was that Alcala stated that the park ranger who found Robin's body had been quote-unquote hypnotized by police investigators, and a witness to this hypnotism was prevented from appearing in court in his previous trials.
Did they say why?
Nope. But let's just sit on
bribery.
Let's sit on the fact that he's claiming that this park ranger who found this 12-year-old girl's body was hypnotized by investigators to... I don't even know, because this park ranger wouldn't have known who did it. He just found the body.
This is what year is this now?
This is in the early 2000s.
Okay, 'cause hypnotism, I guess buy that they
went with it in the 70s, but or 80s, but no, this is the early 2000s that they went with this.
I guess Penn and Teller were really convincing.
There were other reasons, but that one just stuck out, so I just wanted to touch on it because it's just like, excuse me.
I was grasping for straws.
Amen to that. Now, the appellate court decided that this was a violation to Alcala's rights to a proper defense because this witness who saw the hypnotism wasn't allowed to appear in court. Bruh, what? What do you mean? No. It's dumb. Now, thankfully, California had just passed a law stating that DNA samples could be taken from inmates, and investigators were able to receive a court order to take a sample of his DNA, which he fought hard. Gee, wonder why.
I just want to say for the record, I think you should be able to, like, do whatever it takes to get the truth. And if evidence is submitted after the evidence submitting window, it should still be valid. Especially if it's to get the truth and to,
It can be hit or miss, though, because some people will, there are some sketchy lawyers on both sides who will submit fake evidence that hasn't been thoroughly reviewed, which is part of the problem. It can cause a lot of issues. So, and it will just delay the trial even more. It makes everything a mess. I can kind of see why they have a cutoff, but
if it's valid and vetted and thorough, then yeah, it should be it should be considered.
Yeah.
And not hypnotism, bro.
Hypnotism. No, don't worry, because honestly, as shitty as it is that his thing was overturned again, kind of works out because you see, this DNA sample is what led to the discovery that he had murdered Jill Barcombe, Georgia Wickstead, Charlotte Lamb, and Jill Parenteau. Other evidence was also linked to Alcala from different crime scenes, including the handprint at Georgia's crime scene that he'd left on the wall. They did match that to him, and the blood left at Jill Parenteau's crime scene was matched to him as well. Now, in 2006, Orange County prosecutors got permission to consolidate all 5 murder charges. Robin's plus the newly solved murders into one trial. So now, instead of just Robin getting justice, which she rightfully deserves, all of them are. All 5 of the California victims are now going to get justice for what he did, and their families.
So they don't have to do 5 trials?
Nope, they're just doing one big trial. So in 2010, Alcala was back on trial, but this time for all 5 of his California murders.
How old is he at this point? 2010 is 16 years ago, which is hard to say.
Oh, I forget how old he is. I don't remember the math. I'll have to look later. Hold on, let me see. When was he born? Going back to my notes. So he was born in 1943. This is 2010, so...
Bro, this is an old-ass dude now at this point.
93, 03. 60? So he is 67.
Almost 7.
Yeah, so he's almost 70 at that point.
67?
Stop it.
Only the video watchers would see that.
Stop it. Anyway, like I said, he's back on trial, but this time for all 5 murders. And by doing this, it showed a pattern that would make it hard for anyone to argue reasonable doubt to any jury. This man clearly is violent. He's clearly a murderer. Kind of hard to argue against that. But let's make it more fun, shall we? In a shocking move, he decided to be his own legal representation, even though he has no background in law.
Yeah, he's really riding out.
He's going
135 IQ.
Go big or go home, you know. Now this led to what was probably a very interesting time in the courtroom, as Alcala was able to cross-examine witness and give his opening and closing arguments, which is just absolutely wild. He even at one point, he deepened his voice and questioned himself on the witness stand, addressing himself as Mr. Alcala in the deep voice, and then would switch back to his regular voice to answer.
Some good ass Kool-Aid in them. I appreciate the distinction, because I would have been lost.
I would have been so confused, you know? Yeah. And then let's just make his defense even stupider, shall we? He even showed clips from his appearance on the dating game to claim that the earrings found in his locker that had belonged to Robin were actually his. Now, fun fact, you can't see him wearing earrings in any of the clips. But sure, dude. Sure. Also, one of the other contestants, I forget who, but one of them did say, like, you know, in the 70s, it wasn't common for men to wear earrings. So if he was wearing earrings, they would have noticed. Like, it wasn't common, so it would have been something people clocked. But yeah, no, they were hers. They were her earrings. He was just trying to find an excuse to say they weren't hers.
Right, he's just hoping that if I say the thing enough, people will believe it.
Yeah.
Which still works these days, unfortunately, but
yeah,
thankfully more people are
picking up.
Yeah.
Now, as shocking as this may sound, this absolutely did not help his case whatsoever.
Shocker.
I know. The prosecution, however, laid out all the evidence that had been collected and showed how extremely violent he was. Did
he say he was sorry?
No, he never showed remorse whatsoever. Never.
Dinosaur, he tripped up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, no, he tripped up many, many times before that, but yeah. There was just so much evidence against him that there was no denying his guilt, but the prosecution said, let's drive this home. Let's really drive this home. In a bombshell moment, Tally Shapiro, Alcala's second victim, the 8-year-old girl, came into the courtroom to testify. Get it, girl. Get it, girl. Get it, girl. Yes, so now an adult, she came in and they had held her back to testify during the sentencing portion to really not only put a face to his crimes, but also just really have someone who unfortunately experienced his violence really explain it and hopefully make sure he received the maximum sentence.
She's probably, what, like 50?
It was in 1968 that hers happened. This is 2010.
So I think it was 650. Yeah.
So she'd be like...
Right, this was the trials in 2010?
She'd be 48, I think, actually. The trials in 2010, this happened in 68, and she was 8 years old. That's math.
Math. You could do the math.
We aren't that great at math here, so...
Just Google it.
Yeah. But yeah, so she came in and testified against him. She told the jury how he had attacked her and how she'd been fighting for justice for her case ever since. And in March of 2010, the jury convicted Alcala on all 5 charges and recommended the death sentence for the 3rd time.
I'm going to say it with my chest, I support that.
Amen to that.
With death sentence.
And on this case, yeah, amen to that, bro. Now, let's make this even better, shall we? After his conviction in California in 2010, Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. decided to bring justice to his New York victims as well. Remember Cornelia Crilly and Ellen Hover?
No.
They were in the first episode. I think they were his 2 first murder victims that he did in New York while he was going by your favorite name, John Burge.
Not my favorite name, but now I remember.
There you go. Yes, so a Manhattan grand jury indicted Alcala in January of 2011 for the murders of Cornelia Crilly and Ellen Hover. In June of 2012, he was extradited to New York to face these charges, and initially he tried to plead not guilty, but faced with the immense amount of evidence against him, he changed his plea to guilty in December of 2012, probably to avoid another lengthy trial that was just going to drive the point home.
December 2012, the end of the world?
You know it. Wow, or the beginning. Because he was convicted again. On January 7th, 2013, Alcala was sentenced to 25 years to life to be served concurrently in New York. At long last, all of his victims finally had justice. I say that, actually, but There is one more that we did find out about much later. Thanks to the DNA, as well as some of the photos in Alcala's locker being identified, he had been linked to the murder of a woman in Wyoming named Christine Ruth Thornton, who had disappeared in 1977. Her remains had been found but unidentifiable in 1982, and it wouldn't be until 2015 that she was identified when her family provided DNA that matched the remains.
Wow.
It would also come out that she was 6 months pregnant at the time of her death. Now, he would admit to taking her photo as if it wasn't obvious since it was in his locker. Dum-dum. But he denied killing her, which, let's be real, is total bullshit. He totally did it.
I may have killed these other people, but I didn't kill
that one. No, wrong. He totally killed her. Now, in 2016, Wyoming authorities would charge Alcala with her murder based on the photo and circumstantial evidence, but they didn't extradite him due to his failing health at that point while on death row, which I'll come back and talk more about that. Now, bringing him to justice took a long time, longer than it should have. We're looking at you honestly, throwback, we're looking at you, Army. Yeah. We're looking at you at the beginning, and we're just going to keep looking until we finally brought this man justice.
It all comes back to the government.
Yeah, and especially with all the retrials and overturned convictions, it's just, ugh. It took so long, and these poor victims' families are just being put through, especially Robin's family, because they really went through this the longest with him being able to go on retrial over and over again, because it was her case that they were going on retrial for the 3 times, and it wasn't until that 3rd time when they used DNA evidence that they were like, oh, there's more. So Robin's family really just went through this for a long time, and then these other victims who didn't have answers for decades until the DNA proved it. So
he was convicted in 2010 for the original 5, or?
He was convicted in 2010, 2011 for his 5 California murders, and then it was 2012, 2013 that he was convicted for the 2 in New York.
Okay, so in California is where he got the death penalty, is that right?
Yes, so in California, the death penalty was the maximum sentence. In New York, the death penalty wasn't a thing, so his sentence was 25 to life.
So that
he had to serve concurrently, but they sent him back to California because he obviously had the stricter...
Yeah.
He had the stricter sentencing there.
So New York was just to close the case and throw salt on the wound.
New York was just to bring justice to the families, finally, and close the cases, yes.
So I'm sure you're probably going to touch on it, but I have the question now.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't he, already dead? And, how come...
We'll get there. Hold on. He's dead. We'll get there.
I guess it's more in general, the death... yeah.
Death row takes... Even when you're sentenced to death, it can take years and sometimes decades to actually have your sentence finished, finally.
I guess that was my question.
Yeah, it takes a while. No.
Get the blicky.
I mean, that's not how they do it anymore.
You know what?
Anymore. I think in the 80s, it may have still been the electric chair, or they may have been transitioning to lethal euthanasia. I don't know. I don't remember when that transition started, but it can take a long, long time. And especially since he was getting his stuff overturned repeatedly, they had to obviously put it off. They can't kill him if he's going to go to retrial.
Yeah, but I mean, this is after everything is said and done. But
it takes a long time. Don't know why, but it just takes them forever to get the dates scheduled and actually done. And sometimes the dates just keep getting rescheduled and put off.
That just seems so...
I know, it's wild.
It's you would have more dates open if you just got it done.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's just my outside, no education perspective.
Yeah, I don't know all the details about it, but yeah, it's a wild process. So, like I said, he was returned to death row at San Quentin Prison in California. He was then transferred to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation in Corcoran in 2016, likely due to his declining health issues. In 2019, death sentences in California were actually kind of put into a limbo and put on moratorium, meaning they weren't being carried out because California was trying to decide whether or not they were going to abolish the death penalty or not. I don't know if they've actually come to a decision on that yet, or if it's still a thing. But as of that time, he basically got put where he was going to serve a life sentence instead of being put to death.
Should have been grandfathered in.
I wish, but no. So in March of 2021, it was determined that he was too sick to be extradited and stand trial in Wyoming for Christine Thornton's murder, like I mentioned earlier. So he did stay in California, just because of his health being so bad.
78 years old.
And then
at 2021.
And then happy anniversary, babe, because on March 24th, our wedding anniversary, that's right, March 24th, 2021, Rodney Alcala died of natural causes.
He went out too easy. That is...
It literally, my next point is personal opinion. Hate that he got to die old and of natural causes. Hate it. I hate it.
My statement stands about death penalty.
Listen.
Should've just got it done.
Listen, I'll take the little bit of bad karma and just say it. If he'd gotten cancer or something, I'd have been cool with it. But just getting to die of natural causes, no. No, I hate that.
Yeah, like, to be able to take the lives of so many people...
and cut them short, and he gets to live to be old.
He gets to die old.
Mm-hmm.
Again, previous statement stands, like...
It's just...
California should have grandfathered him in, got that stuff done expeditedly. For all of that, like, come on, like, you should have skipped the waiting list for the treacherous crimes this worm did.
I know, and it's like, the thing is, too, is there were mixed reactions from the victims who did survive him and their families.
I thought you meant just people in general.
Just from, like, his victims who did survive as well as their families, there were some mixed reactions. Like, I listened to Call Me Chris's podcast and her YouTube video, Crime Cults Conspiracies. I forget the whole name of it. It's a long one, but Call Me Chris. It's a great podcast to listen to for true crime.
Shout
out. But I was listening to hers for a lot of my research, and I believe she said it was Tally Shapiro was just like, I'm glad he's dead. Like, the world's better off without him. I'm just glad he's dead. Whereas other families of his victims were like, it doesn't seem fair that he cut our loved ones' lives so short and he got to live a long life.
Yeah, honestly, I would be pissed.
I would be pissed.
Like, yeah, they were kept in captivity for a large portion of their lives, so they couldn't hurt any more people. But the fact that...
It's like, he lost his freedoms. Yeah, he was stuck in jail, but let's also keep in mind, he was stuck in jail, being fed and housed and clothed on taxpayer money, aka his victims' families' taxes were going to feeding him, housing him, clothing him, and letting him die of old age and get medical care.
Yeah.
Fuck that. First F-bomb of the show, but I'm dropping it here. Fuck that. That's not cool.
That's 2.
We're dropping 2, because I'm so mad about it.
This is R-rated now.
It's R-rated! Oh no! I think it was already R-rated.
No, we get 1 F-bomb for PG-13.
I meant just the content itself.
I don't know. YouTube's free, and that's a lot of crazy stuff.
That's true.
Anyways.
But with that is the story of Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer. Yeah, how you feel?
I'm feeling.
He's feeling a lot of things right now, probably. But, yeah, thank you all so much for joining us on this episode of Cozy Creeps. Just my standard announcements here at the end of the episode. We are everywhere you can find your podcast, so you can check us out on, like, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Podcast. I think I'm on iHeartRadio as well. There's a bunch of them that we are on for Cozy Creeps, so you can find us just about anywhere.
She says we, but she does, like, everything. I just come and banter and listen.
That's okay.
So she's amazing. I'm proud of her. And that's it for me.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get this in trouble. God. Sorry. That's our thing. Allegedly. That's our thing. I'm so sorry. We mean it in the happy way, we swear. Still bad. Shouldn't say it. I still do. My child started saying it. It's a problem. Anyway, back to the announcements. We do also have a Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube channel, and TikTok channel, all under Cozy Creeps Podcast that you can check out. I am also still looking for listener stories, so if you have any spooky or true crime stories that you would like for us to read here on the podcast, you can email them to cozycreepspodcast@gmail.com with the subject line listener stories. And you can also feel free to send any recommendations or comment any recommendations on my YouTube videos, on my Instagram, here on Spotify, or wherever you listen. For any stories that you would like to hear covered in the future, I love it whenever I hear a podcast talking about a very like smaller, lesser known case because people recommended it to them because it's like a hometown story or something. I just think that's so fun and fascinating. So if y'all have any recommendations that you would like me to cover, let me know. I'd love to hear them. We do post our new episodes every week on Monday, so keep an eye out for the next one coming soon. And with that, everyone, go bundle up in your blanket, put a little bit of extra comfort in that comfort drink of yours, and stay cozy. Bye.
Bing bong ba button.
I guess that's our outro now.